Hey guys, I want to show you how I build and adjust my Serpent 989 clutch. The clutch on 1/8 scale racing is super critical not only for lap time but also fuel economy. Check out the videos at the end where I show you what the clutch should sound like, and if you have any questions don't hesitate to ask. Cheers. So to build and adjust your Serpent 989 clutch, you're going to need a set of clutch tools or vernier calipers. I like to use the ones from Precise Autosports. Some Loctite, Autosol or metal polish, a clutch nut adjusting tool, 2.5mm Allen wrench, a Flywheel holding tool, 10mm socket or universal glow plug wrench, and some high quality bearing grease. Also some brake cleaner. Okay, so we've got our max power here that we're going to clutch up. Step 1 is to install the flywheel. With your clutch nut, make sure that's all nice and tight. Pretty self-explanatory, that one. Step 2, we're going to throw our flyweights on. I use a left-hand hole. This gives you a smoother feeling clutch. I prefer the feel to the right hole, but again, like all clutch settings, it's personal preference. So just make sure all your flyweights are nice and free. Step 2, we're going to put our pressure plate assembly with our clutch shoe and spring retainer on. One thing to just make sure is that your shoe is sitting square against the pressure plate and that everything moves freely. From here we're just going to clean up our metal components, bit of brake clean on a rag, and we're just going to wipe the thread of the clutch nut, make sure it's free from any grease or oil. And we're going to do the same thing with our adjust nut on the thread here to make sure our Loctite does what it's meant to do and stop that spring from coming loose in any sort of qualities or finals. So we've got our extra hard spring here, which is the standard spring with this clutch. Give it a bit of a push with your pliers before you install it, just to crush it. We're going to throw that straight over onto the spring retainer. We're then going to grab some Loctite and put it just on the thread of our adjusting nut. Adjusting nut goes straight over. Grab a clutch tool and wind that down. Now the kit settings are 1.5 from bottomed out. I don't like to bottom it out. I think it puts too much pressure on the shoe. So just start off with when it starts to get tight. Grab your clutch tool. I use the Precise quick clutch. Just going to zero it there. You can use verniers as well. These tools make it really easy to measure the actual spring tension. So we've got 0.9. Later on in the video you'll see where I recommend to have the spring setting and what differences it makes. But we're going to set this one at about 1.7. So we're going to wind that down a little bit more. 1.45. You can see how easy these tools are to measure that. 1.65. Just go a little bit more. And 172. That's going to do us for the moment. So from here we've got our spring set. It's a good idea to undo the spring between race meetings. So obviously at the moment, not too much racing going on. I would highly recommend taking all your clutches apart. That way the spring won't reset and become too short and lose its actual springiness, I suppose you'd call it. So next step, we're going to put our bell on, which I use the aluminium bell. It's the Serpent option part, reduces rotating mass, engages way better. For this, definitely recommend polishing the inside surface here using Autosol first. It just makes the clutch way more consistent. Make sure you give that a clean as well before you install it. Big thing with clutch building is to make sure that all the parts are free from any debris, grease, oil, anything that's going to induce a slip. If you get this shoe contaminated, don't bother using it. It's just going to create havoc and it's not going to work properly. So always give your shoe a bit of a clean with brake cleaner as well. Alright, so we're going to throw one bearing on just to keep the bell steady. We don't need to grease our thrust bearing yet, but another tip, or it's also in the Serpent instructions, is with the thrust bearing, the bigger inner diameter goes towards the engine side. So we're going to put our thrust bearing in there. The gap adjustment that I always use is 0.6 mil. So basically the bell is going to move 0.6 mil from when it hits the shoe to hitting the thrust bearing. So I've got another set of gauges here, again by Precise Autosport, and we're just going to set our gap. We zero the tool here. You can use your verniers again, and then we push the bell against the thrust bearing as far as it will go, and we measure that. So we've got 0.57, which on a new shoe, it's going to go out to 0.6 after that little bit of wear anyways. So the way we adjust this is by adding shims on top of the thrust bearing. So this is the actual second adjustment of your clutch. The first one is your spring. The second one is the amount of shims that you have on top of your thrust bearing here. So now that we've got that set at 0.6 or 0.57, which we had, we're going to put our bearings. Just a quick note, if you do use the aluminium bell, you will need to purchase the 5x10x4 bearings separately. You can use 3 of them or 2 with the spacer that comes included with a standard clutch kit. I like to use a spacer, saves using so many bearings. So put them on. The next thing we're going to do is check how much end play we have with these bearings. More than likely it's still going to be the same, but just check it. So we're at 0.5 or still 0.6, 0.57, so it hasn't changed. And basically all we're going to do from here is space out the bell until we have about 0.2, 0.3 end float. Now this isn't an adjustment. This is just to save the life of the thrust bearing. We've already adjusted the gap measurement by using the shims on top of the thrust bearing. The shims that go under here are not an adjustment as such. They're just a precaution to take out all the play on the clutch. So we'll assemble this. Usually you can just feel it. If it moves a little bit, plus it free spins, is perfect. However, just to measure it because we can, we'll just zero our clutch gauge, and we've got about 0.3. So that's definitely within spec. So we've set our clutch up. Now, super crucial, you want to make sure you grease that thrust bearing. This is going to give your thrust bearing a way longer life if you continually grease it. I grease mine between runs. It doesn't hurt to keep greasing it. If you grease it too much, it will just spin out. It's not going to hurt anything. So give it a good grease. Pack together. Nice and tight. Now we have our max power Serpent 989 clutch all ready to go. We'll show you a little video on how the clutch should sound and some things to look out for.